Oh, I am well aware of how far behind I am. I got, oh my God, I got all my sticky notes hanging on the side of the table here. I got at least, let's see, 5 different shows I needed to review still because there was 5 different shows that I had recently finished. And one of them, well, the one I want to start with, is sticky notes work better. Third and final season of Narcos. It's on Netflix. Out of the 3 seasons of Narcos, I like this one the best. If you're wondering what that blowing noise or that electronic noise is, that's the fan underneath me and the one behind there because it's a bit stuffy in here. It gets a little bit warm. We're getting close to summer and all that muggy, wonderful shit. Anyway, as far as concluding seasons go, at least concluding for this, I know there's a spin-off, but I'll get to that in a minute. It's well paced, very fluid storytelling. 10 episodes that are about roughly 45 minutes to an hour apiece. So it moves at a pretty confident clip. Like the first couple seasons, there's a lot of really cool details, a lot of happenings and goings on after Pablo Escobar is long and gone, because at the end of, well, the first 2 seasons are primarily about his rise and fall, and third season picks up right after where the second season left off, where Pablo's dead. Now the remaining other big members of the cartel, the Cali cartel, as they're named in this, they start to gain more influence and gain more traction with their business. Now that the guy that's more of a, as they called him, more of a glory hound for attention than they were out of the limelight for good. With that in mind, we get, instead of one protagonist with Escobar and not including all the hundreds of hitmen that he had, you get 4 big bosses for this one. You get 4 antagonists. Now, I can't remember all of their names at the top of my head. I might. I know Gilberto Rodriguez is the main guy. He's sort of like the kingpin of the whole thing. And his brother Miguel, is it Gonzalez or Rodriguez? It's Rodriguez. Yeah, Gilberto, Miguel, Pacho, and God damn, I can't remember the 4th guy's name. The guy they send to, because they have guys that work different sectors. Miguel and Gilberto primarily run the business from home country, which is obviously Colombia. But Pacho, I believe, they send to Mexico, which is why I believe that spinoff might come more into play. At least I'm guessing. I haven't seen it yet. And the other guy, I can't remember his goddamn name. Older dude. He's the one they send to New York, because out of all the places in the 80s and 90s that trafficked coke, New York City was one of the big ones. And they send different members of their organization to different parts of that part of the world, or that hemisphere, like North America, Central America, South America, to distribute the product, as it were. As a show, it's effective both as a riveting crime thriller and an intriguing docudrama. There's a surprising amount of info that you get, and not just entertainment-wise. And I know it does take liberties, like a lot of most docudramas do, with some of the historical details, like I'm sure the first couple of seasons did as well. Like I had to read, like you got to read facts about true story films and movies, TV shows, what have you, just to see how much of that true story you were shown cinematically was accurate. And the one thing that was probably the most changed for this particular story is Pedro Pascal's character. God, I'm blanking on his name too. I'm such an idiot. He's the front man for this season, by the way. Boyd Holbrook, his character's long gone. He's not dead or anything. He's just not in the picture anymore. When Escobar exited the picture. He exited the picture. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe he might have been filming that scene for that Wolverine movie, Logan, at the time. But Pedro Pascal's character, he is the main guy for this season, this concluding season. And like I said before, there's a lot of things that the show either advertently or inadvertently teaches you about this time period and the drug trade. Like, drug money can buy you a lot of shit. That goes without saying, obviously, but they go into vivid detail. Like, they spent almost $1 billion, billion with a B, just on connections. And by connections, I mean eyes and ears across the country. Like, if the second you land in Colombia, the second you get into a cab, the second you get into a hotel, they know you're there. They have literally everyone paid off. They've bought anyone and everyone they can pay off and want to pay off. They got that kind of money. I believe, I'm not sure how historically accurate this is. I might have to look at it again, but they literally bought a president. Like, a detail about $6 million donated to a particular presidential frontrunner's campaign, and that's why he got in, because if you're in with the crime lords, nobody can touch you, and you can't touch them, respectively. Out of all the 4 bosses that they have, I think Pacho might have been my favorite. And even though he's one of the 2 that ends up getting it, you know, spoiler alert, it's based on a true story, and you would know if just a couple clicks on Wikipedia or what website, what have you, would show you that at least most of these guys, save for the 2 Rodriguez brothers, are either in prison or dead. And Pacho, he was really cool. He was the real slick dresser, real nice hair, and he was the guy that they send to Mexico, or he gets I'm not sure what, he gets sent there either as a cover or because things were starting to get a little heated at home, so they needed to send a couple other guys overseas. And Pacho, he was openly gay, and this is sort of important because most of the people he hung around were not so secretly homophobic, and he didn't give a damn, to the point where he would be out dancing out on the dance floor with some dude that looked like a buff version of The Weeknd, just dancing, grabbing his ass and making out with him in front of all these people, and then 2 minutes after that, crack a bottle over a motherfucker's head. He was my favorite for 2 reasons. One, because he didn't give a damn what anyone thought of him, and I know there's probably stretches with and liberties taken with that character's real life story as well, but the way he's portrayed here, he's such a fucking boss. But that one badass thing he does in that scene is immediately followed by something super gruesome. Like, I ain't never seen somebody get it that bad from motorcycle before. Oh wow, I thought the fan was gonna blow that all over me. Nope. Oh yeah, I did already say it takes liberties with facts, but then again, what fact-based story doesn't? Pedro Pascal was great in this. All the actors in this were really good. I don't know what the main Mexican actor's name is that Pacho goes to see, but I really like that actor. He's a divergence from a lot of crime bosses that you see. Instead of that very fake, very sort of low-key, sinister, inviting sort of tone that sort of like, okay, he's friendly, but I can sense something malicious here. Whereas this guy, he genuinely means that. He's like well-intentioned, and he offers Pacho a position there, and when he gets turned down, he doesn't get offended or anything. He goes, I respect your loyalty, my friend. You know, it was a very refreshing character. For the most part, that was one of the things I liked the most about it, was the ace casting. And you can either look up or see some of the actual people that they played, and for the most part, the actors look pretty damn close to the people that they're playing. with the exception of maybe a couple of them, like the two actors playing Gilberto Rodriguez and Miguel. Uh, I looked up the two guys that they're playing, and those two are pretty damn close. Pacho looks almost nothing like the actor who plays him. And the real Pacho looks nowhere near that dressed up, nowhere near that clean cut. He's not even that tall, I don't think. And the actor I believe playing Pacho in here is not even Mexican or Colombian. He's Argentinian. And the guy playing, I don't know why I can't remember the dude from New York's name, but he was one of the more ruthless crime bosses they had. Like, he would just put a gun to a dude's head in broad daylight and shoot him in a diner and not give a shit about it. There was one scene, Gabriel Iglesias was in it, where he goes to the Bronx. It was either the Bronx or some other part of, it was either Harlem or the Bronx. He's in New York City. And like this rival group of coke dealers, because they need a certain chemical for whatever the fuck they need it for. I don't know the specifics of cocaine distribution. They go to this hair salon place, and he basically just shoots the whole place up. It's just as really dramatic and cool watch compellingly as it is just really violent. A lot of Netflix shows are like that, both in the good sense and bad sense, for sure. It details the, like, step by step, the criminal, financial, political, economical, even global to a certain extent, the influence that cocaine had in the 80s and here the 90s. All of the things that it influenced, all the things that it bought, all the things that it paid for, all the things that it helped sell, including itself, all the ways in which it was trafficked, all the things that were just affected by it. It's insane, the detail that you can absorb from a lot of things like that. So, as a 3-season run, it does make me more excited to see Narcos Mexico, which is, I know, the spin-off show. Friend told me, man, this show is good, but you gotta watch Narcos Mexico. Diego Luna and Michael Pena are both so fucking good in it. And I really like both of those actors a lot. And I don't hardly see Michael Pena in a ton of dramas, but I've seen Diego Luna in a few, and I'd like to see more of both of those actors. And to see a spin-off of this show take place in another avenue of this show that I thought would be more interesting to explore in the first place. It's like, all right, I'd like to see this. So, yeah, out of the 3 seasons of just Narcos, this is the season that I liked out of all the 3 the most. So, it'd be, out of a 5 stars, yeah, it's a 5-star for me. It's very entertaining. It's gripping to watch as, like I said, both a docudrama and as a crime thriller. It's dark. It's I'm trying not to overuse too many words. It's a really good binge watch, like a lot of things on Netflix are. But as far as true crime drama, it's a really gripping sort of representation of that time period. I like period detail when it's really spot on and you can tell how well thought out they really, what the fuck kind of phrase am I using? You ever just run with a thought? You ever start a sentence like, how do I get out of this? Bottom line is, I love the show. It's a great show, and it's a crime drama that it's like one of those novels that's hard to put down. And I believe it is very much inspired by nonfiction books, that if the characters in here, the real life versions of them didn't write themselves, some either journalist or FBI, former member of the FBI, something like, somebody wrote a nonfiction book, because in the intro you can see the cover of a nonfiction book with 4 of the crime lords' faces on it. And it was either I'm guessing was written by either a former journalist or somebody who used to be in the DEA or CIA, because the DEA is a very heavily focused on element of the story, and how much the war on drugs is such a colossal failure of an effort. Like the finale episode alone of this season, I won't go into too much detail. I don't want to spoil anything, but I'll just go so far as to say that it makes the American characters in here feel like a lot of what they do is almost a lost cause. The one of the lost trains of thought I lost earlier was Pena, the not Michael Pena, the character that Pedro Pascal plays in this, Pena. He, in the final few episodes of that, apparently he was never even involved with that. So if there's any like historical inaccuracy, that would probably be the biggest one. The fact that there's a character in a certain part of this chapter that was never even involved with that. So it was injected in there for the sake of dramatic purposes. And you can understand why that's done in some ways, but it still throws you off sometimes. I think the last time I saw that in a Netflix drama might have been with, it was that mini-series with Sacha Baron Cohen, The Spy, where I'm sure there was a lot of situations where there was some historical inaccuracy for the sake of dramatic purposes. Like there was one specific incident where the main character in that show was speaking to somebody, and they spoke to one of the actual people in real life who's still alive, and he's like, I never talked to that dude. I've heard of him, but I never spoke with him. So some things either are a little more true or less true than they are purported. But as drama, it's captivating, it's compelling, and it is a very gripping watch. So as a conclusion to this 3-season run, it's a really solid capper. It's a really great conclusion, and it makes me all the more excited to check out what a spin-off like Narcos Mexico would be, because there's a lot of intriguing aspects of this show to take into a different territory like Mexico. Stay safe out there, y'all.